Welcome to the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. We're going to explore ways to sharpen our diagnostic skills, find learning resources, and hear from experts in the automotive field. Hey, what's going on, automotive world? Welcome to another episode of the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. My name is Sean Tipping, and I will be your host once again. Joining me on the show this week is Corey Bruggemann. Corey is a mobile technician out of Staten Island, New York. We're going to talk about mobile life out there in New York City, and he's going to tell us about how he got into that. And he's also going to share some life wisdom with us all. I really enjoyed this talk. I enjoyed it when I went through and edited it just as much as the first time. So I think everybody else will as well. Corey also has a YouTube channel. Check the show notes for the link. That's S&A Auto. Check that out. He's got some great videos. But with that out of the way, let's jump in. Good evening, Corey. What's going on?
Good evening. What's up, Sean?
Staying busy. I have no complaints. There's lots of work right now.
An undeniably a good amount, so I won't complain. Sometimes, well, a lot of times too much.
Yeah, it can get overwhelming at times.
I always say the worst in the I wouldn't say the worst economies. The worse the economy gets, the better our industry gets, I think.
I think you're right. It was 2008 when everything crashed. I was maybe like 2 years into being a tech, and I just bought a house, and I'm panicking because everybody's saying, oh, the world's ending and the market's crashing and nobody's going to have jobs or money. But we just got busier. I worked at a small independent shop, but you never would have known had you not watched the news that there was any type of financial crisis, because
it makes sense because people don't have money to buy new cars, so they I got to fix my old one. So because I used to make the joke about flea markets. Flea markets do real well in a bad economy.
Sure.
Because everybody's looking for a deal. Everybody's looking to make a few extra bucks. I'll go get a table at a flea market and sell a few things and make some extra dollars. But when the economy is good, well, who needs to waste time doing that? I'm just going to, go party. I got extra money. I'll go buy a new car. Actually, and right before, I guess, the downturn of the economy, there was a lot of that. I ran into that a lot. You give an estimate and they're like, I'm just going to trade it in and get a new car.
Yeah. Just scrap it because they don't want to spend $3,000-4,000 on a vehicle fixing it.
And now it's the complete opposite. Like even if I could, I can't find a car. So yeah, I got to fix it.
My parents sold, and I'm sure markets are different all over the place, but my parents sold their 2002 Chevy Silverado that's up here in the Rust Belt, that's seen some miles, and they got $6,000 for this thing. And I couldn't believe it when they told me what they got for it. I was like, wow, I could have bought that truck a couple of years ago, or maybe 3 years ago now, for maybe a couple grand around here. There was, for a 20-year-old truck, but it's absolutely insane to try to buy something new right now.
Well, yeah, right. The same thing with the home prices, everything. Like, well, I can get a lot from my house. Okay, where you going?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
whatever extra you get, you're gonna have to put into the next one, whether it be a car or a house. So it's all balanced. Mm-hmm. The only good thing is there's a lot of repair work going around.
Oh, just a ton. And it seems to be the smaller independent shops, at least around me, are the busiest. I go by and the lots are just packed full. There's one shop I go to, it's pretty close to my house, and usually I don't even have a place to park when I go there because they've got so many cars. And I actually did the other day. They had a spot, so I was giving the guy some crap inside. I'm like, what's going on here, man? You got a parking spot? You guys okay? You got enough business? So, but yeah, they're doing well, and I think we're doing well because of it.
Yeah, I think so. But as again, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Just keep plugging away, and that's where I don't stress over. I try not to stress over, did I make enough today? Did I cover the bills? I stress over, did I fix enough cars? I just want to fix more cars.
Yeah. Well,
I think I heard Sam mention, I think I mentioned to you in a conversation we had privately earlier that, listening to the interview we did with Sam last week, and I hear a lot of points being made. I'm like, oh yeah, I wanted to talk about that too. A lot of it's relative and the same. And he was talking about not getting tied into a job for a long time because, well, there's just so much other work to do. I can't get stuck on one car for 3, 4, 5 hours. I'd rather bang out 4 cars in 4 hours, or something like that. And when I first started doing this, I didn't. When I first went mobile, I didn't see the value in that or the importance of that, and now I do.
Yeah, I 100% agree, and I think it's, I started doing a lot of the mobile stuff for the diagnostic purposes, because that's what I enjoyed doing and what I had geared up for. But I'm finding the same thing on a regular basis. Once you're known, you have, somewhat of a reputation around, like, okay, we'll call this guy. He'll get it figured out one way or another. And then you start getting weirder and weirder issues in cars, and boy, they can eat up some time. Or you get into like a flood car or something that's been hacked up by 3, 4 other shops.
Oh, you said the big evil word, flood car.
Yeah, gross. Just absolutely gross.
Yeah, Keith still tells me he started one of his first pieces of advice is no flood cars. I've expanded on that to say no flood cars, no TLC cars, and no cars that just had an engine swap and have all kinds of weird problems.
Oh, okay. What's TLC?
Taxi and limousine commission. Like, car service cars.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, they just beat that. They add stuff in there, radios and GPS trackers and whatever they put in there, lights, and they cut them back out and they add more stuff, and you find wires that just, we always say the alarm is, add-on alarms are horrible. Well, TLC is, or taxi cabs are like 10 times that.
Yikes. Yeah, I can't say I've done much of that.
Just every time you put the car, we walk in, you look at it, you go, oh, it's a TLC car? No, thanks. I gotta go.
Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not only what they've added in, taken out, added back in again, but the hands that have worked on it. I just got asked today, actually, on I was a hybrid something, and I don't know, it had multiple issues and blah, blah, blah. And these guys over here, and I know the garage they're talking about. And I'm like, no, I'll pass. I'm not even coming to look at it. And the guy just laughed. He goes, no, I understand.
I was going to ask, no. I mean, what is your typical reaction when you just say no to something? I mean, what does that shop say to you, or what do they end up doing?
I don't know. I don't follow up.
Okay.
Usually if I say no, I haven't gotten, I usually get the, oh, come on, really? You sure? I'm like, and I'll explain it to him. I go, no, because I can't spend, even though the customer says he's willing to put, I had a second conversation with a shop that called me just this afternoon on a 2012 Ford something or other. That's the customer put his own PCM in it that was supposed to be quote unquote pre-programmed. We know where that came from. He put it in, the car didn't start. He put in it, but it did start and run with it cranked with his old PCM. The new one, it didn't crank at all. So he put the old one in there, and now it won't crank at all with the old one, probably because he's got, security codes and whatnot. And half the nose is missing, like he got into an accident. And I'm like, no. So the customer's been playing with it. The car's banged up. He started the conversation with, this thing looks like it's on the way to the scrapyard. I go, what makes me want to come in and fix it now? I says, I got to be honest, I don't want to touch it.
Right.
I said, I don't. I says, even if the customer says he's willing to, he's okay with 4, 5, 6 hours diag. It doesn't mean I can actually get it fixed in 4, 5, 6 hours. It's not going to be a bill he's going to like. And then a lot of people say it, and then when it gets there, they go, "Oh, really? But the car's not fixed. Do I still have to pay it?" And like, I don't want to get involved. It's just, if the car's in that shape, there's a reason it's in that shape. Nothing to talk bad about the owner, but it means that the car's been through too many hands, and it's never going to get the attention it really needs. It never got the attention it needed in the past, and it's not going to get it now, and I can't get involved in it.
Yeah, that's a good lesson to learn, especially doing what we do, and you're trying to be, like you say, fix as many cars as possible, be productive. But I know I've learned it the tough way, and I'm still learning on a regular basis. But you kind of figure that out as you go along, like how to spot the ones that are just gonna suck your whole day up or a few hours up and just wreck your schedule.
Yeah, listen. The bottom, all of us that do, all technicians, all mechanics. All right, I find that we all have something in common. We all have ADD. we all have ADD. We can't concentrate very long. We always go sideways, and we all have a little bit of an ego.
Sure.
Not to a bad thing, but to a good thing. Like we want that feel good moment. Aha, we got it. We fixed it. Yep. You know, we thrive on that, which is a good thing. So yeah, you don't want to get into a car where you're there 4 hours and you're just getting your butt kicked, and you're like, and you're looking at your schedule going, I got 12 cars I can really fix, and I'm here with this thing that nobody cares about. You know, so it's a little bit of that, and it's funny because going mobile, I think you touched on this a few minutes ago. Like when you went mobile, and there's a level of appreciation that you get, business to business mobile anyway, doing work for other shops.
Yes.
You know, when I got into this 100 years ago, you know, because I'm old as dirt now, I got into it because there's also like, yeah, I want to fix cars, but there's also that little bit of, I like the idea of fixing somebody's car and then being like, oh yeah, Corey fixed it. My car's running great, right? That level of appreciation, respect, and all that, and it's there, but it's never to the level I think we expect it, because even when you fix somebody's car and it was giving them a problem and it was a headache, and you fixed it in time so they can go make Johnny's soccer game for the weekend or whatever, they can go to the beach. Yay, they fixed it. Sean fixed it. Corey fixed it. Whatever. Before they say that, they say, "Oh, my freaking car cost me $800.
Yep.
Ah, it really sucks. I didn't have this $1,000 or $600 or whatever it is. Ah, this freaking car, and it's, you know, it's 4-letter words. Before you bring it in, there's 4-letter words on the way out the door. Oh, but you know, they really did the right thing. You know, he's a really good guy. But Jesus, this freaking car. So it's always overshadowed by, you know, we're in a bad news business, right? But I have found, since I went mobile, I get I'm way more appreciated from other shops than I ever was from my personal. Well, I would say not all, never say always and never, but for the most part, there's a bigger level of appreciation because the shop knows what goes into fixing it, because obviously they couldn't, which is why they called me. So there's there's definitely that feel good moment when you fix it and they're like, oh, I'm so glad you're here. Well, I'm glad you showed up. I'm glad this car is fixed. Thank you so much. And it's genuine. And there's no 4-letter words around, but you know, you charged me, you know, $200. There is never that.
Yeah.
It's almost never that, which is really kind of nice.
I completely agree with that. And like you say, don't say always or never. There's exceptions, and I choose not to work with those shops when that occurs. But yeah, for the most part, the shops are happy to see me there, right? Like I'm there to make their day easier. I'm there to support them in some way or another. And then, you know, whether it's just programming, you know, keep their whole process moving, or fix something that's been kicking their butts for X amount of time. Like you say, they understand what goes into it and where they weren't able to do it. And they're like, okay, well, here, this guy takes care of it for me. So our whole process keeps moving. Thanks, Sean. Sweet. We'll see you next time we call you. And yeah, I've really enjoyed that too. Business to business, there's less BS than dealing with the general public, for sure.
Well, yeah, and it's not to talk bad about the general public, you know, for anybody that might listen to this and go, oh, he's trashing us. No, it's just that the truth is there's an education lesson that has to go along with the sale of the repair, right? You have to explain to the customer why it costs what it does, why it takes the amount of time that it does, why it's important. There's a whole thing that has, and you know, that's an art in and of itself for any service writer or anybody that does that role. To be able to convey that message and quote unquote sell the job, but you have to you always want to put the customer at ease and hopefully they'll understand, which they probably don't, right? They don't know what a muffler bearing is, and they never will. Um, so, but you don't have to do that with another shop. You don't need to explain all of that. They know.
Sure.
And then they're like, hey, do you want to talk to can you talk to the customer real quick? And I go, no. I don't even want the customer to know I exist. I'm okay with that. You take the credit.
Yep.
I'm okay
you guys
with
be
that.
the heroes.
Be the hero. I'm happy that you appreciate me, and then the customer appreciates you. The car is fixed. The customer's happy. You're happy. I'm happy. The world's a great place.
Sunshine
in an
rainbows.
ideal world. Yeah. Well, I heard one of the chat groups recently. It was mentioned about how it's always perceived that we have these great days and these great case studies, and it always goes great. And somebody said, we really should tell the bad side of things because we don't always have. Not everyone is great, right? We should tell the bad stories too, so everybody understands we have our tough days. But I think the reason was, and I started thinking about that. So why do we do that? I do that, right? We all do it. But I think that's because we enjoy so much the victories, and we want to share the victories. It just feels good.
Yep.
It's like, hey, I finally got this thing. Look what I did. Look, I was able to do this quick too. Look how fast I found this. It felt great. It's not that we're showing off. It just feels good.
Yep. It's part of this trade, regardless of the level that you're at. And one of the reasons that I stuck with it through, when I started in high school auto shop, is that satisfaction you get of fixing something, whether it be an actual mechanical repair, you put a strut in and takes care of a noise, or a computer network issue that you solve. That feeling you get when the car works the way it's supposed to, or doesn't do that thing it's not supposed to do. That's something you can't deny. And so, it is.
It's the ego moment.
Yeah.
That's the ego moment. That's fun. That what is that picture? The guy standing on top of the building with his fists on his hips, with his chest out and a cape flying in the wind kind of thing, yay. We all like that moment to go, yeah, I nailed it. Yes. And it's not to say, haha, you couldn't. I mean, there may be guys like that. And I think years ago, there was a lot of that. Mm-hmm. It's nice that I think the trade has changed. So it's not like that. Like this whole, again, this is a conversation you and I've had separately, right? But it's years ago. We didn't have the social media. We didn't have, YouTube and Google and people we can reach out to say, hey, I'm a little stuck. Can I get some help? And 20 guys were like, yeah, dude, I got you. Mm-hmm. That didn't happen 35 years ago. Either they didn't know, or if they did know, they didn't want to help. There's no phone a friend. There was no texting. There was none of that. And even the training classes were bland at best. They were put on by corporations that were really just looking to sell you something, whether it be brakes or tools. And we'll just, we're really just trying to sell you something, but we'll teach a little something too. Now we have events like, Vision and things from all these big ATG and TCG and Super Saturday and whatever, all these big events, that really aren't selling anything other than the idea of training. And you go there with guys that are very humble and willing to help and give you their phone number and call me if you need something. That just didn't happen 35 years ago. So when I see these young kids that are eager or claim they're eager and they claim they want to learn, but they make excuses, and I just want to choke. I'm like, dude, you have so many opportunities to get the help and to learn and excel. And if you're not taking advantage of it, and I start writing down, websites, I start writing L1training.com and scannerdanner.com and go check out their free content. If that's what you think you're looking for, then you subscribe. And, I got one kid, I bought him the Scanner Danner book, and I bought him a year subscription to Scanner Danner. Nice. I says, now I expect feedback though. I want to know and he does. He comes to me, and actually, it's actually a sadder story. The kid's actually got he's battling cancer as well.
Oh, geez.
But man, he comes to work every day with a smile on his face, and with his book under his arm. Sometimes he goes, "I got the book tonight. I'm gonna do a little studying. I'm gonna watch a little video." I'm like, awesome.
Nice.
So
does he work in the bus garage there with you?
He works with me here at the Transit.
Okay.
He's a helper, and this guy travels from like Long Island to Staten Island every day for work, gets here
Wow.
on time. You never know. People find out he's battling cancer and they're like, dude, really? I'm like, yeah. So whatever your problems are, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. You got
Just
nothing to
shut up.
complain about. Wow.
Nothing. Um, so yeah, so I hear like I walk into a shop. Yeah, I got this kid, and I think he's really he's a go getter, and he's got some ambition. I go, I want to know who he is. I want his phone number.
Hmm.
I said, I'm going to drag whoever that is to an event.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I did the teaching thing, in tech school, and obviously those kids are there because they have an interest in it. But when you find somebody who's got a good attitude and some passion for this, boy, try everything you can to encourage that and keep them in this industry. Because yeah, we want more people like that. And so I made sure to not scare off, that sort of person in this industry. Like give them everything and let them know, yeah, you got to work hard. Obviously you gotta put time and effort into it. There's no way around that, but you keep that good attitude and that passion and maybe some talent on top of it. And you're going to
Stay humble, ask for help.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah, right.
Don't be afraid to ask. I need help. I want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you just put it out there like that, everybody will help. If you're like, hey, I just want the answer. My car is stumbling, and what do you think it could be? Like, no, just go away. Come on, tell me you want to learn how to fix that, not the silver bullet. Like, don't be one of those guys. Like, but if you really want to learn, if you got a passion, top of my head, there's about a dozen people that would personally pull you in and help you.
Yeah, it's really impressive how many people that are out there in the groups through whatever YouTube or Facebook or however you connect with people nowadays, but that are just willing to spend X amount of time out of their day to offer you help. And I mean, it's been huge for me. I reach out to those people all the time for help. But
we reach out to each other and some of the private chats, private groups that we're in, and I probably reach out a little too much sometimes. We have one of our mutual friends. I told him one time, I said, am I getting on the pay no mind list? Have I overstepped my welcome? He goes, you're getting there. I went, okay, I'm sorry. It's funny because again, years ago we didn't have this, and then
yeah,
and then I get into this. I guess I'm trying to put a timeline on it. I guess when it all started. When I went mobile. I don't know if you want to backpedal to that. A little bit,
yeah. How did you get into it?
Well, originally this is Staten Island, so this was Keith DeFazio's territory. New Level Auto. And I know Keith going back now, 20 years, something like that, maybe a little bit longer. He was working for his uncle at the repair shop, about a block away from my repair shop. And that's how I first met him. Okay. And he had already morphed into doing, at night and weekends, doing some mobile stuff while working for his uncle during the day. And then at some point he just went totally mobile. I was all along, I've been working for the Transit Authority at night. I'm here now almost 29 years. Okay. So before this, I was working for another bus company. I was working for doing school buses and coaches, which is really back up even further. Which is funny because when I first went to Lincoln Tech 100 years ago, again because I'm older than dirt, it was at that time it was a 9-month automotive program. And they said, "Oh, you want the diesel program too, right?" And I went, "No." They said, "It's only 3 more months. You get the diesel program." I'm like, all right. I don't want to work on diesel. I'm never going to work on diesels. I just want to work on cars." And I'm like, all right, we'll just take the program and get out of there. And I get a job working on school buses and coaches, and then coming to work for Transit Authority. So guess what? The last 34 years I've been working on diesels. So much for that plan.
Yeah.
But in between there, I had my own shop, and then went from that. I partnered up with a different shop, which ended up being right down the street from Keith's place. That's how I knew. That's where we first met. And then I sold my shop back in like 2008 to my partner, and then bounced around a little bit, still working nights at Transit, doing some side gigs during the day. And then I reincorporated back in 2013 It's funny with the idea of wanting to go mobile. Even back then, I
Mm-hmm.
incorporated as S&A Auto Repair Consultants Corp. And
Mm.
that's the official name because I knew I wanted to do mobile, and the sort of name signified mobile, I guess. Um, and then I kind of just laid low, even with the business running. I just laid low for a while, doing most stuff out of a home-based garage. And then I started nudging Keith to go, hey, let me come out, because he was working ridiculous hours. It was just, that was his full-time gig. He was 6 days a week, 16 hours a day, whatever it was,
Damn.
just running. And I was like, dude, why don't you, like, let me come out with you. Give me some work. I'll take some load off if I can. Give me 2 calls, 3 calls, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what really kicked it off, he got sick for like a week, like really bad sick.
Okay.
Um, I'm not going to get too into it. I don't want to tell his personal business, but he got really sick, and he
Sure.
just couldn't make it out. He couldn't make it out, and he was like, all right, go do this call for me. Go do this call for me. Go do this call for me. And I started doing some of them. And after that, it was kind of funny. It was just then I started doing some stuff with him. He would send me on a call. I'd get there and he'd be sitting there. I'm like, dude, I thought I was doing this call. He was like, you are. And I wish I wish I could do the visual here. He'd be in the van. I'd roll up to his window. I'm like, dude, what are you doing here? I thought you wanted me to do this. And he's like, you are. And he'd look at his watch, roll his eyes at me and go, go. I'm like, what? Go? I'm like, oh man. And he'd time me and I'd run over and I'd troubleshoot the car real quick. I come back. Okay, this is what it needs. He's like, 27 minutes. Not bad. All right, see you later. And he would just drive away. And I'm like, what the hell was that? And then my phone would ring. It's like, where are you? I'm like, where are you? You just left. Okay, well, you better get here. And he'd text me an address, and I go that way. And that's what it started all. And then
No pressure.
like, go. And I'm like, what do you mean go? He goes, and he looks at his watch. He goes, and he taps on his wrist and he goes, go. And I'm like, oh, you're timing this. And he's like, well, yeah. I'm like, oh man.
Jeez.
And he wouldn't even get out of the truck. He would just lean over and look at me out through the window, and he'd just go back, play on his phone. I'm like, he's really going to sit there and time me, this bum. I can't believe he's doing this to me. But anyway, and then I think it was on a Sunday, he says, in his typical Keith way, he says, I'm going to take a ride. I'm taking a ride tonight. And so where are you going? He goes, going down to the Carolinas, look at a job opportunity. I go, what? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go to North Carolina, South Carolina. I'm like, okay. All right. Yeah, all right. I don't know what the hell's going on. He calls me like Wednesday morning. All right, I'm on my way back. And, he left me with some calls to do while he's away. And he's coming back. He's all right. I took a job opportunity. Oh, okay. What's going to happen? Because I'm moving in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what? He goes, yep, I'm forwarding all my calls to you, and you better get ready.
Jeez.
For real? And like literally with that, my phone. Well, I don't want to say thankfully, but that's right when COVID hit. It was literally the first week of COVID.
Oh,
he
no
moved
kidding.
as COVID hit, which was kind of, I hate to say it was kind of a blessing for me because everything closed down. So the calls came in slower in the beginning, which allowed me to ease into it. Yeah, right. So it kind of slowed the rush down a little bit and allowed me to acclimate. So that was the blessing, and I acclimated, and it got busier and busier, and and that's where it went. It just and hence the mobile business lives on Staten Island.
Okay, all right, yeah.
And I never really pushed it as, hey, I took over for Keith, because I didn't, listen, he had his thing. He had a great reputation, and I would never want to do anything that would jeopardize his reputation. So I never said, hey, I'm the new Keith. I took over for Keith. And, he's a schmuck for giving it to you. Like, I just wouldn't want to, like, I don't know. I never felt right saying that. So I never did. I just said, Keith has asked me to come cover this for him, kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm sure there was just a vacuum that needed to be filled after you left.
I know, like I heard he
did.
And I would, like 6 months later, I would still hear like, I heard he moved. I'm like, yes, he did. They're like, oh, no wonder he hasn't been around. Like, I'm not going to start sharing his information. By that time, he'd already announced that he'd moved, and he moved down to the Carolinas and blah, blah, blah. And he's really happy, and he's got, they're down there, and it's all good stuff. And I'm still running around Staten Island. I still haven't gotten into all of the shops out here. There is, I think at last count, there's about 348 different types of repair facilities on the island.
Wow.
And that's, body shops, oil changes, repair shops, the whole gamut from little shop to big shop. And we're on an island that's 15 miles long, 8 miles wide, and just over 500,000 people.
That's crazy.
Run those numbers. Start figuring that one out. And that's what I hear these guys talk about. Yeah, well, I had to drive 40 minutes to my next call. I'm like, really? God, I couldn't do that. I park in one spot and hit 3 different shops.
Yeah. I have, I think, a minimum outside of maybe just a couple. I got a minimum of 10, 15-minute drive. And that's on the low end. And then some of them, I'm going maybe a half hour to my next stop. So I got to try to find something useful to do with my windshield time. Like,
wow. I hear that, and I know that's the norm, I think, across most of the country. I think.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I know even like Keith Perkins, like he's in a pretty condensed area, but he still has to drive from where he lives to there. So he has like this, longer drive in the morning to get into his area, then drive home at night. Other than fighting traffic on this overpopulated small island, which sometimes can be absurd, it can, believe it or not, take 35, 40 minutes to cross the island sometimes. 40, depending on the traffic. Okay. Yeah, it can. To go 8 miles, 45 minutes, something ridiculous. I have it kind of mapped out. I know which ways not to go in the morning, which ways not to go in the afternoon, set up my calls appropriately and zigzag through it all. But yeah, that's how I got with this. And since then, my garage door is closed, and I have a full home base shop with a lift. And for those that follow me on YouTube, they've seen a lot of videos that were shot out of my garage. I have a lift and overhead reels and strut machines, and I have a full working shop. And right now it's just crushed with garbage and storage. It turns into a typical storage bin of a garage.
Yeah.
Just I walk in there and it's like, ugh, all the work I put in here, and it's just, I can't even move in here. Forget about putting a lift up. I got to do an oil change. I had to do it out in the street. I was like, oh man, this sucks. But
what's the name of your YouTube channel for anybody that wants to check it out?
S&A Auto Repair.
Okay.
Same thing on all the social medias. I think I think it's funny. I think it was on Facebook or one of them. I'd actually tried searching for myself. I could think something happened one day, and there's actually a shop in upstate New York that has the same name, and they literally took my profile picture and used it as theirs.
What?
And I went, really? You couldn't come up with a stupid profile? My profile picture is my business card, right? And it's a picture of a Saline S7, and it says S&A Auto over the top of it. And I made it myself, so I know what it looks like. I did the artwork on it. And I look and I go, this son of a bitch took my freaking...
Wow.
I get it. We got the same business name. It's not that crazy, but S&A Auto is not that, it's not like it's far out. I get it can happen, but you had to take my profile picture too?
Well, that's how you know when you made it, when people are trying to copy you and use your name.
I actually sent them an email. I'm like, dude, I can appreciate that we have the same name, but could you not be a little original and not take my profile picture?
There's a shop actually just maybe 20 minutes north of me here, and the name of the shop is South Main Auto, right? And so I'm sure you're aware of Eric O, the South Main Auto, probably one of the biggest YouTube channels. So I was up there. I was like, well, that's funny, because it didn't really make sense for the location. They're in a town called North Branch, right? So, and it is way up north. So I was like, what's with the South Main Auto? Really?
Well, listen, I've gotten it. I've gotten comments or questions because they think S&A Auto, SMA Auto. Get it?
Oh, sure.
SMA, SNA. Mm-hmm. So I've gotten, I'm like, no. I know Eric. I'm honored to call him a friend. No, I'm not him. He's way better looking than I am. But it's funny when so morphing into the mobile thing, we call it learning on steroids when you go mobile.
Sure.
Because, and for good reason. I'm not doing brakes anymore. I'm not hanging struts. I'm not doing tune-ups. So I'm just doing diag after diag after diag. So whether you want to or not, you are learning on a faster pace, right?
Yep.
Sam, I heard Sam again reference to Sam's interview last week. I heard him make a joke about keeping notes and records, and like, no, it's just make the same mistake 2 or 3 times, and you go, oh yeah, I have run into this before, and I should have written it down, and I didn't. But it's just things are going too fast to write too much stuff down, and I'm definitely not an organized person. I definitely not. As far as taking notes and keeping good records. I take what I have. I take what I have to, for tax purposes, and make sure all those numbers are straight. But as far as like keeping track of work that I've done and for who and what kind of car, so I can reference back to it, no, I'm horrible, absolutely horrible.
I've been traditionally bad with that, and I'm growing. I'm trying to get better.
I started to this year. I started to set goals. Smaller stuff like by this date I wanted to by February I wanted to have an ICOM, and I wanted to have ISTA-P for BMW, and I did. I got it, and it's installed, and now I have that. And I wanted to get a console 3, and I did. And I wanted to get going back to like November, I think I got that. And so there's certain things I want, tools, and there's different things I wanted to start doing. One of the things was, I know Cody does it. For anybody who doesn't know, Cody's Auto Diagnostics, dynamite guy. He had shared something he does. He uses Windows, I think it's called OneNote, Microsoft OneNote.
Okay.
And he uses that because it's literally like a notepad, a digital notepad. You can just stick pictures, and you can write stuff, and you can just kind of throw everything onto like one folder, and then just one file, and the file goes into a folder, and you kind of organize it that way. You can just kind of jot stuff down. I tested this, I tested that. Take a snapshot of it, even throw that in there. Take a picture of a receipt, or you can attach a scan to it, a scan report. And I was like, you know what, I want to do that. So that's one of my next goals, is to get more organized. But now we're getting off track. If you let me, man, I'll go sideways, man. You gotta reel me back in. I make the joke, I have ADD and OCD, so I want it to come out perfect. I just don't have the patience to make it happen. I will get everything done to about a 99%, 98% efficiency. I'll never put the last nail in that board just to finish it.
Okay. No, all this stuff I feel is relevant, the organization and stuff. That's something I'm trying to work on all the time. But yeah, we can reel it back. So you're at the transit garage there. What are you doing currently for them? Are you still
bus mechanic?
Okay.
Nothing fancy.
You're down and dirty, diesel work, all that stuff, or what?
Yeah, just working on buses. Yeah.
Okay.
It's nothing glamorous. I fix buses.
Okay.
They break, I fix them.
Gotcha.
I'm here, like I said, almost 29 years. I'm hopefully another 21 months and 2 days to go. Who's counting? No, listen, it's a great job. It's funny. There's a side of it that people look at and they go, well, you got the city job, so you don't have anything to worry about. You got it made. Like, I don't know about having it made. There's a trade-off here. It's called, I don't go home.
Yeah.
I don't see my family during the week. I don't have dinner with my wife and kids ever. So there's a trade-off.
Sure.
I made the decision back when I was 24 years old to go, you know what? I think I'm going to take this city job, which will allow me to do other things with less pressure. It just means I'm going to have to work twice as much, though, because I'll have two different jobs forever.
Uh-huh.
And I was okay with that. So that's my trade-off. Yeah, this job gives me certain benefits that I appreciate and I'm thankful for, and it allows me to do the automotive work that I want to do and concentrate on fixing cars with less pressure about the, how am I going to feed my family? How am I going to get them health benefits? Yeah, because I work a second job for that.
Right.
So that's the benefit.
That's when you're just self-employed and you got a family to take care of.
And I totally get that. And I don't envy the problems that the guys that are doing that with just mobile guys or just whatever it is, whatever you're doing in life, you just have that one. If you're self-employed, yes, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not patting myself on the back, but I saw that at a younger age that, hey, I want to do shit for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do something. I want to continue to run my own, because I was doing my own thing even at 24, at 22, at at 19, right? We were fixing cars in the driveway, right? And I said, I want to
Yep.
do this, but I don't think. And at a young age, I went, I don't think I can be able to like get married, have kids, and just do this. Like I got to get a real job. So I took the city job and kept doing my own thing.
Okay.
So I've had 2 jobs forever, and the city job allows me, because it's a kind of system where seniority prevails. So as long as you have seniority, you get to pick different shifts, because we're a 24/7, 365 operation. So when my kids were growing up, I would work the midnight shift, which meant I could be around all day, work on cars in between my schedule. But if they had a school trip or parade or a play at school in the evening, I made everything.
Okay.
I went to all the events. I went on all the stupid trips to the zoo and the trip to the farm or whatever they were going. And, and it's funny, all the other chaperones were mostly housewives, and they're like, you come on every one of these, don't you? I'm like, yes. So it allowed me to do that. But I was still working too, because then I would get back and still have to work on 3 cars before I stopped and eat some dinner, and then work till 11 o'clock at night, and then go to work at midnight at the city job. And yeah, like the guy from, what was that old commercial? Time to make the donuts.
Yep.
But I'm okay. That works for me. I'm not telling anybody, and don't get me wrong, I'm not telling anybody else to do that. That worked for me.
Did you ever at any point feel like you were just burning out trying to do 2 jobs at once, trying to tackle it all?
Yes, when I'm not going to tell you an exact moment. I think everybody has one of these moments.
Mm-hmm.
I had my shop, my repair shop down the street. This is when I was down the street from Keith, and we were struggling. We were struggling to we on the outside, and this is another perspective. People drive by, oh, you got your own business, you must be doing great. Every time somebody said that, I wanted to punch them in the face. Because they drive by, they see cars, they're like, oh, look, the lot's full, you guys must be doing great. Like, no, it's the same car sitting here for 3 weeks, we're not doing great. So we were struggling. We were struggling, pay everybody else, and then you kind of take whatever's left, and it wasn't much. So I wasn't making the money I needed to justify never being home.
Mm-hmm.
I was working, the shop during the day. I was working 4 to 12 at transit. I was never seeing my kids. My kids were younger at the time. My son was 7. Tell you exactly. Mm-hmm. He was 7 years old, and I came home one day, and he said, Daddy, how come you're never home like all the other daddies? All my friends, they have dinner with their daddy and their mom, and you're never home.
Mm.
And I went, and I grew up without a father, and I was like, ugh, oh, that hurt.
Yeah.
I thought I was doing it right. I wouldn't even add it. He goes, and when you're home on the weekends, you're busy working on the house. And I was like, oh, talk about cat in a cradle.
Right.
I think I literally walked in to the shop, like, I don't know, it was the next day or 2 days later. And I told my partner, I said, you got to make me an offer. I got to go. I got to get out. I said, I got to do something different. It's not working.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was it. I didn't have family life, and I wasn't making the money to justify not having a family life. And my priorities got a little fucked up. And excuse my French, but my priorities were definitely messed up. And I said, I got to go home. Mm-hmm. And it took a few months to get the deal through, and I had an end date. And then the next opportunity I had, I went midnights at transit, and which then allowed me to do what I was saying before, go on all the school trips, all the plays, all the parades, whatever it was. I went to it all. I made sure I didn't miss a thing. And then a couple of years ago, I started hitting my last years, and I said, I need to go back on the 4 to 12s. My kids are a little older. At this age, they're not they're more concerned about, hey, give me a few bucks, I got to go. They're not really looking to hang out. They're looking to go out. They're all doing their own thing. My son's 21. My daughter's 19. They got their own thing. They're in college.
Sure.
So yeah, it's allowed me the flexibility to do that. But so yeah, there was a point where I said, okay, I'm not so much burning out. I was doing it wrong, and I wasn't enjoying what I was doing.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's important too. If you're going to be putting in this huge effort for something, and dedicating a lot of your time to something, you should at least be enjoying most of what you're doing too. If
It's one of the things I like to say, and I've stolen this from a lot of things. A lot of the mottos I go with, of course, I've stolen from other people and not my ideas, but I try to listen to like motivational guys and just life lessons and stuff. And one of the guys I listen to is Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. He says something, and I just said, "Do you like Mondays?" It's simple. Do you like Monday? Do you like waking up Monday? Most people go, no, I don't like Mondays. But what do you like? Oh, I like Fridays. Why? Because of the weekend? Yeah. So you spend 65% of your life waiting for the other 35%. And most people, when you tell it to them like that, they go, oh, your shit's broken. You're not supposed to hate Monday.
Right.
Do something. Doesn't mean you got to change careers. You might have to. You might not. But maybe you're just doing what you're doing wrong. And I was doing what I was doing wrong. The mobile thing, I actually fell in love with the industry again. I absolutely, I'm humbled by the amount of friends that I'm humbled to call my friends, people that call me their friend. At an age that I'm at, like to have all these younger guys, and I got no problem saying like these younger guys are like brilliant, right? Keith Perkins and Mario and PJ and, and I know I'm forgetting a whole bunch, but like just the younger guys.
Incredibly intelligent people. It's nuts.
And I called them my friend, and I literally dragged my wife to Vision. She's like, I don't want to go to this. I said, no, you gotta come. Why? It's selfish. I wanted to introduce her to my friends. These are like really cool guys, so it was a bit selfish, but I wanted to bring her. It's like, it's a good thing, and so I see, reverting back to the conversation earlier, these younger guys, like, you don't realize what's out there. Like, grab hold of this. There are a lot of good people out there. Jump on board and like associate with these people. Like I tell my kids, I've told them from an early age, show me your friends, I'll tell you your future.
Sure.
You are, general rule of thumb, you'll make between $3,000 and $5,000 of all your closest friends.
Yeah. What do they say? You're the sum of the like 5 people that you spend the most time with, or something like that.
Yeah. It all kind of means the same, right? We all say it all says the same thing, says it a little bit different. You find something that resonates with you. So I see these young guys and I'm like, dude, you got to like embrace this. And I feel bad. And this is another thing I'm trying to do is Keith and I had started something before he went and moved away on me. We had this idea to do some kind of event to bring attention to the industry, to change the stigma of Grease Monkey. So we had started this thing. We were in talks with one of the local trade schools. I'm saying this wrong. The vocational high school.
Oh, okay.
So we have one vocational high school that just does trades at a high school level. That's all they do. There's only one on Staten Island. There's one other public high school that has an automotive program. In between there's a lot of nothing. So we went to this vocational school and said, listen, we got this idea. We want to do this thing. We want to do an event where we just kind of set up some stuff and show off like the equipment that we use and the possibilities for the industry, that, different things you can do. And they were on board with it. And it didn't feel like they were wholeheartedly on board, but they were on board with it. It kind of was like at a typical red tape, slow pace kind of thing. Like, we want to do this like tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we have to put in this, we have to do that. We're like, oh man. And then COVID, Keith moved and COVID hit and everything went on the back burner. And I'm kind of sitting there, on the front porch one day. I'm talking with a buddy of mine who happens to be a local politician. He happens to be a local assemblyman. And I'm like, and he was the one who helped get us the contact in the first place. With me and Keith talking to this vocational school. I said, remember that thing we tried doing before COVID? And he says, yeah. I says, I want to do it. I said, I really, really want to do it. I says, he said, okay. He says, what do I got to do? I said, help me get in contact with the right people. So he's been helping. He got the school board. He mentioned it to I'm going to say this all wrong. One of the heads of the local community education council. And she was like, absolutely, I want to do it. I definitely want to do it. They reached out to the UFT, the United Federation of Teachers, the local council of them, and they were like, yeah, definitely, we want to do it. So my idea is to do an event where we set up maybe like a couple of stations, like 6 stations, have a car at each, put a technician at each. You
Okay.
know, I drag a couple guys out. I put it out there. Said, guys, I need some volunteers. It's a give back moment, right? Nobody's
Hmm.
getting paid for any of this. It's just this is all ego boosting, feel good moment stuff. I put a guy at each. Who's got a scan tool? Who's got an oscilloscope? Maybe somebody's doing an ADAS calibration. Maybe somebody's doing keys.
Sure.
Whatever. We do a bunch of different stuff. I call a couple of my buddies, got some hot rods just for eye candy. I bring in a couple of food trucks.
Okay.
I call in a couple of the guys from the trade schools, let's say Lincoln Tech, stuff like that. Bring them guys in. A couple of the local, the bigger repair shops come down. I already got Snap on board. He said, "Yeah, I'll come down. I'll park the truck. People can come in and out, check out the tool truck." So
Nice.
make it an event, and then explain the idea that you don't have to be a grease monkey to get into this field.
Okay.
Stop listening to your parents. Your parents are ill-informed. The parents that are pushing you to become a doctor or a lawyer and make you do things you don't want to do. Maybe you don't want. Maybe you think you want to get into the automotive field and you really don't, which is fine too.
Hmm. It's not
But
for
for all
everybody.
the, what do they say? The next greatest, the greatest singer of all times right now is putting down the microphone and deciding not to sing because their parents told them they need to go, you know, go get a job, or
Yeah.
something like that. Like,
Sure.
all these missed opportunities. There are a lot of kids out there that would be brilliant at this career, at this trade, and nobody's telling them,
Yeah. Well,
and they would love it.
you were talking about all those people, the younger people in this industry that are so successful and doing so many cool things. Yeah, we need more of those people, and there's opportunity for more of those people. We just need to attract them somehow.
35 years ago, I'll use that again because I'm old. When I started, you got a toolbox, you filled it with tools, and you were expected to fix the whole car. And you could,
Yep.
bumper to bumper. You were rebuilding engines and transmissions and rear ends, and you doing suspensions, you doing everything, and possibly even doing some paint work or some body work, like in all of that, right?
Hmm.
Out of one toolbox, it was doable, it was expected. Now it's impossible. It can't be. Well, some of the old timer shop owners still expect it and don't realize what they're asking. But realistically, it's impossible. You can't fill a toolbox and fix the car. There used to be,
Right.
we always, the expression "stay in your lane." Years ago, there was one lane. You got into the automotive. You want to become a technician, a mechanic, whatever you wanted to call it back then. There was one lane. It was called "fix the
Hmm.
car." Now there's
Yep.
8 lanes. There's 8 lanes, and you can get into one of those lanes, stay there, make a career out of it, and be very happy. Do what makes you happy. You got to like Mondays. You like programming keys and immobilizer stuff. You can make a career out of it, doing ADAS, doing programming, doing diag, doing, this. Maybe you like to do the grunt work. You like to do nut and bolt work. That's your thing. Great. There's a career in that. We still need those guys.
Yep.
There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong
that's not
with it.
going away.
That's not going away. It's admirable. You're the guy that is going to, do the grunt work. Okay. But you don't have to. You can literally just do like keys and immobilizer and then decide, you know what? I think I want to do ADAS and switch lanes. It's okay. You could do it.
Hmm.
There's so many people, there are parents that are telling their kids not to because they don't realize that's an opportunity. And there are kids that would actually
Hmm.
love to do that and don't have no idea it exists.
Oh,
So that would be my idea about an event to bring
exactly.
awareness, an automotive workshop event, just to bring attention to it and say, hey, this is what it's really about. Maybe you might like this. And, if you get one or two that go, you know what? I do like that idea. I want to do it. You may get a couple, you go, know what? That's not what I thought it was. Okay, that's cool too. But try it, taste, what do you say? Taste all the fruit and decide what you don't like. That's fine. Figure it out, make a mistake, try it for 6 months and hate it. I tell my kids all the time, like my kids are both going to college now. I told them both, you get into your last year and you're about to get handed your diploma and you decide, you know what? I think I made a mistake. I want to do something else. Then go do something else. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I'd rather you make a 4-year mistake than a 40-year mistake. It's to do what makes you happy. You got to like Mondays.
Hey, that's a great saying. I would say the same thing to my students too, or even first year students in the tech program. Like, hey, maybe you figure out this isn't for you. It's not for everybody, but it's so much better to figure it out now than 20 years down the road with all kinds of money invested in this and then realize, well, I hate this and I don't want to do this anymore. Figure it out like early on, and it's
Right.
so much
But
better.
don't
And maybe
like
you
it
pick
or
something up from
dislike
it
it.
along the way.
Right. But don't like it or dislike it because somebody else told you to. I tell my kids, don't listen to anybody, especially me. Do what you got to do. I'll make recommendations, but don't be afraid to tell me, you know what? I don't want to do that. Okay, then don't do that. What do I know? I'm older than you. I'm from a different generation, and that's the biggest problem we have right now. And it's the same thing our parents did to us, right? They try to push on the values and the beliefs of their generation, which didn't work for ours, and now it's really different with technology. Who are we to say, stop playing on your phone? Maybe they should spend more time on their phone because guess what? That's where it's going. Like, maybe we just had the wrong idea. But, that's part of the battle we have with the other part of the industry. Every shop's looking for a mechanic right now. Every shop I go into, I'm looking for a mechanic. I go, are you really?
Yep.
You got to see the reaction I get. It just happened today. I was in a shop and the guy goes, I'm looking for a mechanic. And I looked at him and I said, are you really? And he looked at me and goes, well, yeah, what are you talking about? I go, so what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm asking around. And I go, yeah, what are you going to get for that? I go, if you're really serious, do you understand this is not about hiring somebody for a job anymore? The guys that are doing this career years ago wanted a job. Now they want a career. There's a lot more invested in becoming a technician, and you have to respect that. And you have to offer them a career. This isn't, we have a mutual friend that I don't want to use his name because I don't, but very well respected. And he's a mobile guy and and for those, you'll figure it out. And he's over on the west. Well, I guess he's in the mid country somewhere. And he's got about 3 vans and he's got a wonderful wife that works with the company. And he's got some great, I love his business sense. And it came up it came up about training. How do we handle training? And he said, that's easy. He goes, I send my guys to everything and I pay for their airfare and I pay for their hotel and their food and I pay them the hourly wage while they're there. And somebody said, well, what happens if they leave? He goes, what happens if I don't train them and they stay?
Yep.
And it's like, the idea that I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that this is the best place they work. And if they leave, well, then they were never mine anyway, and it's my fault. But at the very least, when they do leave, other people are going to go, you know what? There's an opening, and that's the place to work, and I want to go there. So, my point was, if you're really, are you looking to hire somebody for a job or a career? If you're looking for somebody to hire for somebody's job, then, you're going to get what you're asking for, and that's all you're going to get. I can't find nobody. What are you really trying to? Like, I went into one shop and they said, "Oh yeah, we're looking for a guy." I said, "Okay, well, what are you looking for?" Somebody that can do brakes and somebody can do this, somebody can do that, and kind of like they were unsure. And I said, well, what are you paying? Well, I don't know. It depends on the guy. We'll talk. I go, you're not looking for somebody. And he goes, no, we are. I go, no, not like that. You're not.
Right.
I said, tell me exactly what you're looking for. You need to go at somebody and say, this is what we want. This is what we're paying. So, but you can have a range, but geez, at least sell yourself a little bit. These guys that are to get into this, you're asking a lot of them. You're asking them to give up. Go to training and build an equipment base and tool base, and you're asking them to know a lot more than we had to know 35 years ago. So you need to respect that.
Yeah, that goes into a whole other thing that the business owners need to run their shops correctly, charge accordingly for diagnostics and all this stuff in order to.
That's a whole other conversation.
the whole other conversation. But they've got to do all that stuff so that they can pay correctly and send and afford to be able to send their guys to training and all that stuff too.
Right, but it is also related too, right? Because the shop owners that are behind the times, I don't want to sound derogatory, but they've been under the heading of, we've always done it that way. I hate that expression, right? Because that's a business killer. We've just always done it that way. The shop owners that have been around a long time and are still doing things the way they did them 30, 40 years ago, and then they're wondering why they can't make money, they can't find the right technician because you're still doing things the wrong way. You're not charging for diagnostics, let's say, or you're building it into the job. We charge diagnostics, but if we get the job, then we wash it. You still a lot of that around. or shops that just aren't charging for it properly. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying charge for something you don't do, but I'm saying get your money's worth, charge appropriately, which will allow you to hire the right technician.
Yep. Yeah, that's the only way it's going to work.
The conversation is wrong with a lot of these guys. It's the wrong thought process, the wrong conversation. And once in a while, it's like, I had a conversation like this with one of the shop owners. By the time I was done, he hugged me. He's like, dude, I love talking to you. He goes, you're right. And I'm like, but so like, he literally went to hire a guy. He was telling me, I had this guy, and I was trying to hire somebody. I had this guy come around. I know who he is. He's been around a little bit here and there, and I know he's a good mechanic. And he came in, and we had this thing all worked out. It was going to start on Monday. And the next thing I know, he called me up and says, oh, listen, I'm not taking the job. I went to work somewhere else. And he's like, can you believe this freaking guy? I said, so what'd you do about it? He goes, what do you mean what I do about it? I go, so why didn't he work here? He goes, I don't know. I go, you got his phone number? He goes, yeah. I go, well, call him up. He goes, what? I go, call him up. Just no hard feelings. I hope you're happy. I just got to know, what was it? What did I do wrong? Why aren't you here? I really wanted you here. You're not here. How come? I said, maybe he'll tell you, and then you got to fix it. I go, I started off with, I go, whose fault? He goes, he was supposed to start and he didn't start and he's not here. I go, whose fault that is? He goes, the other shop. I go, no, this is your fault. What are you blaming the other shop for? It's your fault. I said, turn the finger around. It's your fault. You didn't provide a good enough work environment for this guy. You didn't appeal to him enough. That's your fault. Fix it. And he was like, oh man. I go, that hurts, don't it? He goes, for a minute. I go, okay, but get past it. It's your fault. Fix it. I said, call him up and ask him, how come you're not here? And he was like, oh man, you're right, man. You're right. I got to change the way I do things. I go, okay, there's nothing wrong with it, but admit that you're doing it wrong. Do it different. Hire and find a tech. Give him a career. I said, this guy has got a beautiful shop. He's in a good location. He's got all the equipment. I go, and you got no mechanics, no technicians. He's got one guy that shows up when he wants to. He's kind of winging it. I'm like, what about this guy? He goes, this guy. And I actually talked to the guy, and the guy's like, seriously, like, he's got this attitude, like he's got no ambition. I says, you got to lose him. You got to lose that guy. He doesn't even want to be here. But the conversation's got to change. I think, a lot of these guys just got to think different. And me too. Like, I've the last 2 years, again, this has been like learning on steroids. Just the mobile thing, learning how business works, seeing all these different. Listen, I'm on this island my whole life, and Keith said it to me. He goes, "You're going to realize there are a lot of shops you never knew existed, in places you didn't know existed." I'm like, I'm on this island my whole life. I think I know the island.
Yeah,
he was right. I'm still finding shops and places. I'm like, I never knew that was back there. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That's cool. Yeah, I think a lot of that's about taking ownership, like you were saying too, of whether it be your business or just what you do, even as just a technician too, like taking ownership for yourself and saying, okay, maybe why didn't I get that job, or why wasn't I able to fix that car, or why is my business running poorly, is looking back on yourself and what can I do, as opposed to blaming someone else or something else. Because I know all of us see a lot of that in people and situations where it's complaining and blaming and pointing fingers, where most of the stuff, if you look at what you are doing, there's something that you could be doing differently or better or more efficiently to be successful at whatever you're attempting. You just got to turn look in the mirror and be honest with yourself on some of this stuff.
When you start accepting, almost to the point of fault, accept responsibility for everything. Things get easier then, because you waste time going, if that guy would have just given me this, or if I would have, you waste so much time and thought process and energy on it. Just point the finger at yourself. It's my fault. I fucked up. I could go outside right now, get run over by a bus. I think it's my fault. You know what? I shouldn't have been in the street, I guess. It's just my fault.
Yeah.
A meteor can come down and hit me. I'm like, I probably shouldn't have been standing there. It's just my fault. But you know what, though? And at that point, you go, okay, now I'm going to move on. I'm going to do something different. Yep. Rather than waste time going, you know what? How do I fix it? I work on cars. Sometimes I get my butt kicked, and The shop could have told me. I wish I would have known. You know what? No, it's my fault. I screwed that up.
Mm-hmm.
And things get
Yeah.
easier after that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, well, it's good. It's good to let stuff go too. Maybe if you do get your butt kicked, not let it, affect your ego too much. Because I've been guilty of that too, where it's just like I screw something up and I just hang on to it for days. And there is a benefit in just being able to be like, all right, I messed up. Here's what I'm gonna try to do better, and just let it go
I
and
think
not let it affect you.
I think I mess up on every job. I drive away from almost every single job, thinking to myself, how could I have done that a little better, a little faster, or how could I, been a little more efficient on that one?
Sure.
Not to say I did it wrong. How could I have done it better?
Yep. Yeah. There's almost always something you can improve on.
How many times you start a diag and you skip over step one because you didn't follow your own diagnostic process that works, and you decide I have a better idea, and instead of step one, which is supposed to, step one is relative compression, you go to step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, go back to step one and realize, Jesus Christ, it's got a low cylinder. Here I am, I'm chasing cam crank correlation, and this thing's got a low cylinder.
Yep. It's usually, when you're skipping steps, you're like, oh, I know I've seen this before. It was, cam crank. And so you waste 20 minutes hooking up for that. And then if you would have followed your normal process, it's done easy. You're to the solution quick, but that's, I don't know, that I do the same thing. Must be just be human nature to just think that I know a better way. I'll try it this way.
That's our ADD getting in the way. Told you we all have it.
Yeah. Exactly.
The more I think about that, somebody said it recently. So we all have that. All techs have it in common. We all have ADD, and I went, "Yeah, I do." But I'm also OCD. Oh man, that's confusing.
Must be something about it that draws us in.
But it's listen. I like where the industry is going. For the people that say, "Oh, this industry's shot," I don't recommend it to nobody. I'm like, just because you're not happy with it doesn't mean somebody else can't be happy with it. I like where it's going. I like the opportunities that are out there. Maybe because I have seen where it came from, where, you know what, Junior, you have to fix the whole car. I don't want to fix the whole car. Well, you have to. Now you don't have to fix the whole car. You want to just do ADAS? Do that. Okay. I like where it's going because I've seen the other side. I think there's more opportunities coming with EVs and the expansion of the expansion, wrong word, but the popularity of hybrids and EVs. There's a whole other industry coming, and I think there's going to be stuff beyond there. Who knows what will happen in 10 years from now? Nobody saw where we are now 10 years ago. We were supposed to be flying cars by year 2000,
right?
And that didn't happen. So, we're disappointed in some ways and surprised in others. I like where it's going. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think there's a lot of money to be made.
Definitely.
I don't like to emphasize on that again because listen, there's a lot of people making $200,000 a year that are miserable, and I know a lot of people making $45,000 a year that are really happy. So,
yes, sir. That is great advice.
You gotta like Mondays. Figure that out. Figure that out, and you win. Figure it out, and you win. Figure out Mondays. It's just, there was an old joke about the guy that spent his whole career working 9 to 5, trekking back and forth to Manhattan, working Wall Street. Always wanted, just since he's a kid, he just wants to fish. That's his thing. He wanted to fish all the time. Love fishing, but you got to get a job. You got to have a career, and he did. And he saved all his nickels and dimes, and he finally retired one day after 40 years. Moves down south, and spends a whole lot of time on a charter boat, 2-3 days a week out on this charter boat. Finally, his whole life, and now he's out fishing, which is what he always wanted to do. And he makes friends with the captain of the boat, and they get to talking, and the captain asks him what you do your whole life, and he explains it to him. I always wanted to fish, but worked a career on Wall Street, and now finally he's out here fishing. So he asked the captain, what was your thing? He said, ever since I was a kid, same thing. I just wanted to fish. I had the same passion. He goes, really? What'd you do for a job? What career did you get into? He goes, I bought a fishing boat. It was that simple.
Yep.
Sometimes we overthink it. Just figure out and figure out what's going to make you happy. And if it's the automotive industry, then there's a lot of opportunity.
Plenty of opportunities to, explore your passion. And that's really what it was for me, is just find out what you're passionate about, follow that. And then the money thing will, figure itself out within reason. But what excites you, what gets you going, what you're like, you can't stop thinking about. That's the thing you want to follow. And that's always kind of what I've done too. And so far it's worked out okay for me. So
I think, I don't know. I don't know. It was Eric O said it one time. One of the guys said it. If you haven't woken up in the middle of the night, if you haven't woken up at 3:00 in the morning, jumped up, went, oh, I know what's wrong with that car. If you haven't done that, you're not trying hard enough. You wake up at like 3:30, you go, oh, I know what I didn't check. I know what's wrong with it. And then literally go down, get up, put your shoes on, and go to the shop at like 4 in the morning because you just figured out what's wrong with the car you've been working on for 2 days. Yeah, you laugh because you did it, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I've also had the moment where I've woke up in the middle of the night and be like, oh crap, I forgot to do this. There's been that moment too, but yeah. Cool, man. Well, this has been great talking to you. I appreciate you taking your time out of your evening to do this.
I appreciate you having me. I was like, when we first talked about this, I'm like, man, I hope I got something to share. Like, because I'm not nearly as smart as some of these other guys, but maybe my experience.
Yeah, you've got some really good life experience. I think some of that advice is really good for people.
I don't know. I hope so. That's my biggest regret, is that I got this excited about it this late in the game, but hopefully still got some time to do this some more years. I don't know. I'll leave the transit in another couple of years and then go somewhere else. Who knows? The good thing about being mobile, right? We can go anywhere. Maybe I'll just tour the country and do mobile with you guys. Stop in everywhere and spend a week, do mobile with everybody for a while.
I always thought that'd be really cool to take a tour and hit up all the cities where all these guys work, and that would be really fun if you were able to do it.
Yeah, that might actually happen. But Sean, I appreciate you having me, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Corey.
All right, be well, my friend.
Okay, that's going to do it for today's episode. Another big thank you to Corey for spending some time with me. Really enjoyed that talk. Hopefully everyone listening did as well. Again, I encourage you to check out his YouTube channel if you haven't already. That's S&A Auto. The link is in the show notes. Also like to thank everybody for listening to the show. I really appreciate it. But with that all out of the way, let's get out there, start fixing the world one car at a time.